And we're back. Welcome to your breakthrough year, week 12. Another game-changing lesson for you today, giving you guys all the tricks to the trade that you need to be able to change your life, do things that you would never imagine possible, and really be able to leave this world with impact. I mean, what's the point of you being here and having these great hopes and great dreams, but nothing ever happens with it? So in today's video, we're going to talk about Uncle C's blame game and keeping yourself first. How to keep yourself empowered in a very disempowering world. So kind of wanted to come up with a bit of a story about one of my uncles, and I'm going to use a fictional name as to not put anybody out there. So I'm just going to call him Uncle C. And Uncle C is one of those guys that has a lot of, great convictions on things. If you ask him about things, he's always got some opinion. He's always trying to tell somebody else what to do, even if he doesn't have a particular skill in what he's telling the next person about. But when it comes to why things in his life are not going the way that they're supposed to, Uncle C always has an excuse. And all of those excuses are always in blame of another person. And so this video is really all about why everything is your fault. Now, that might sound a little harsh because there are certain things in life that happens outside of your control. There are certain things, external factors, circumstances beyond what you made them to be that really plays a part in why things happen the way that they do. But for the sake of your success and growing successfully as an entrepreneur, business person, someone who is trying to thrive in their life rather than simply survive, it's all about changing your mindset. Okay, so I'm going to make this distinction right out of the gate. The reason why is going to be very important for you to always blame yourself is because of the fact that blaming other people for your problems and your shortcomings is very disempowering. If you really think about, right at the heart of why is it that so many people tend to point the fingers at others and tend to blame, well, it's because of the fact that they do not want to accept responsibility for themselves because it's very intimidating. For a lot of people, you don't want to be able to blame yourself because you feel like it's, really kind of threatening, bruising to your ego, right? Very humiliating. You feel like a failure and a mess up. But the most successful people always work from within. And that's what you got to do if you want to be successful. So, if you were to think about your life as being in a circle, and I know I've talked about this in times past, but I just want to kind of reiterate some things here. There's two worlds that you're going to have the opportunity to play in this life. There's going to be the outer world, which represents, your community, your environment, your peers, organizations that you join, etc. This is an external world where things are managed beyond your control. And then coupled with that in your life, there's a smaller circle that encompasses the things in your life that are within your control. Excuse me. So when it comes to the things that are within your circle of control, that is where your power lies, because that is the only thing that you can definitively do to be able to change anything. If you're always looking to things that are outside of your circle of control, it's out in the external world, you're blaming this person, you're blaming that person, you're blaming the government, you're blaming the school system, you're blaming your parents, you're blaming your exes. When you always have a tendency to look outside of yourself to point to the reason why you have problems, that's actually disempowering you at a very high level. And the reason why that disempowers you is because you've programmed yourself to live in this narrative where life's greatest problems can only be solved by people outside of yourself. Really think about that. If you look at all of the problems that you have in your life, when it comes to your health, when it comes to your finances, when it comes to your spiritual life, when it comes to your relationships, if you always look to other people to point the finger and attribute them and outside forces as to the reason why you're not successful in a particular arena, then really what you've programmed your mind to do, and you don't even know it, is to look to others outside of yourself for your change. You're leaving your success and your fate in other people's hands. And that's what you do every single time you point the finger. And so one of the most important things that I really want you to do as you progress throughout this year is begin to point the finger at yourself. Even if it seems unfair to do it in certain situations, maybe you really didn't play any part of it, point the finger at yourself. Because when you point the finger at yourself, that's when you're putting yourself back in a position of change. Again, when you take yourself out of the equation, that's when you lose control. That's when you lose the ability to be able to influence, to direct, to be able to guide things in the way that you would want them to be guided. And to be quite honest, if you're going to be successful in your life, nobody else really needs to be holding on to the driver's seat but you, because other people are not going to care as much about your personal success as you're going to care about yourself. So you've got to put yourself back in the driver's seat. And the main way to be able to do that is to be able to look within, to take responsibility of things, even when it may feel fairly embarrassing, right? Always think about, how do I keep my life operated under my circle of control? And, that's not to be, like super controlling of other people. It's not to be like this egomaniac when it comes to preeminence. It's simply to put yourself in the position of being a leader rather than being a victim. See, while everybody else is playing the victim in life and they let whatever happen to them because they've already resigned themselves to blaming other people for their problems and their situations, the person that's taking accountability of themselves, they're always focusing on getting better because it always comes back to them. So that's where the power lies. The minute that you take something that has to deal with power and you put it in somebody else's hands is the minute that you begin to diminish the opportunities to grow and develop your own success. Okay? So that's really the first thing. Now, when it comes to you blaming yourself for everything, here's another aspect that you want to think about. When you blame yourself first, this is going to subconsciously always make you prepared. Because instead of blaming other things and situations and circumstances for why you're not able to get ahead, you make the proper preparations in life so that external factors don't take up that much of your life. What do I mean when I say that? So let's say that you are going to work and the traffic is bumper to bumper on the highway and you end up getting to work 20 minutes late. Well, you could walk in the office and you could apologize to your boss and you could say to your boss, "Oh, I'm so sorry. The traffic was so horrible. It's just like so many cars are coming to my city nowadays and it's like people don't know how to drive. I really wish that they would be able to make better highways." Right? So again, right there would be a prime example where you in life, you have the opportunity to be able to create personal change. you have the opportunity and the moment to be able to make a difference, because by you doing different things, you're going to get different results. Life is showing you that maybe there's a shortcoming in a certain facet of your life, and there's something that you could do to change it. But rather than you making the bold decision to change it, instead, you take this secret power that God is giving you in exposing a shortcoming, and you pass it to somebody else. And in doing that, you never improve, because you never look to yourself for the opportunity of self-improvement in that arena. If you're coming to work and you're 20 minutes late, well, then that really becomes an opportunity for you to be able to say, I'm going to be so well prepared that I'm going to set up an extra 30-minute buffer in my travel time, so that way I'm going to get to work earlier rather than later. You could be showing up consistently early to work, which could lead to your next raise. It could lead to your next promotion. It will really be able to work some wonders over to your boss, because they're going to be able to see that you've taken stock of yourself, and you've, instead of looking to everybody else to solve your problems and fix your issues, you're looking within, right? And that is one of the biggest problems that is really prevalent in society today. There's so many people that are looking to outside forces to be able to solve all of their life's problems, that they are not making adequate preparations today in order for themselves to have a better tomorrow, right? So again, if you find yourself in a position where maybe you can't find a job, and you say, oh man, the economy is so bad, because I don't have a college degree, it's because of this, it's because of that. Well, instead of looking to what's going on in the economy, or, the hiring practices of another company outside of yourself, this is a golden opportunity for you to be able to look within and say, how do I become the person that is so good that they can't ignore me? How do I become so efficient and so effective in my skill set that I literally can't be stopped? If you always look to, again, different outsiders to try to control how you're feeling about your own personal life and your own personal success, you're taking the greatest asset that you have, which is yourself. You are your greatest asset, and you're turning yourself into your own worst enemy, because by you going to other people, then that means that you're not putting any investment within yourself to become a better you. And that's one of the reasons why, the late success teacher Jim Rohn used to always say, don't wish that things were easier. Wish that you were better, right? Because if you were better, who cares about how easy or how hard something is? At the end of the day, you're the one that's making all the improvements. You're the one that has the better life. You're the one that has the better success. You're the one that has the better legacy, right? So instead of drawing from other things and wishing that other things bent to you, right? You're going to have to be able to take your life, and you're going to have to constantly tweak and constantly sculpt to prepare yourself for the days to come. Now, again, in this life, there are certain things that you should be making preparations for. And the top preparations should be across a lot of the most important pillars of life, right? So when you look at your spiritual life, are you prepared to inherit the kingdom? That should be a question that you should ask yourself. So, if you're not doing the things that are needed for you to have a great spiritual life, are you going to point to everybody else as to why your spiritual life isn't going the way that it needs to go? And then when it comes to you inheriting the kingdom, you don't get it, and you're trying to pass judgment and point fingers at everybody else at the judgment seat? Or are you going to, knowing that you've got to be that perfect man or that perfect woman, right? Be ye perfect as my Father in heaven is perfect, as they say. Knowing that you have to be that perfect creature, that's when you make the personal decision to prepare to become perfect. So every single day, you prepare yourself to be better than you were yesterday, right? And that's how it happens. But if you go an entire lifetime and due to your actions and due to your negligence, you don't get the spiritual end result that you're desiring to get, it's not the powers that be that's the problem, right? It's not God that's the problem. It's you that's the problem for knowing that you wanted to get the kingdom, but you did not make yourself adequately prepared, right? And that's the reason why whenever you saw a lot of the servants of God on the earth, they told people to repent now because the kingdom is at hand. In other words, it was giving a notice of preparation. Now is the time to get prepared. And so you want to take that same logic and put it across every area of your life. Your health. Could there become a day where you're going to become maybe terminally ill? Yeah, that day is that's true. Could there become a day where you could sustain an injury? So what things are you doing today to offset what could happen to you tomorrow? Are you one of those people that just kind of goes through life and is like, yeah, you know, whatever happens, happens. What will be, will be. Everything will work itself out. And then inevitably you find yourself finding some type of major life-threatening illness or sickness in your life. And then right in that moment, you will have wished that you would have spent more time in preparation. See, every opportunity is being given to you now to prepare for the things that are difficult to come. And guess what? Even if those difficult times in circumstances in life never happens, that makes you 10 times better because you were so well prepared. There might have been certain things that you did to offset that time and that occasion from ever happening. But see, if you go through your life and you're blaming this person and that person and this situation and that situation, then you're always going to find yourself in a position where life's going to continually smack you in the face because life is not listening to you blaming other people, right? Society can be very unforgiving. Life itself doesn't care about, the emotions that you have and the regards that you have towards others. What life cares about is what are you doing to be able to architect your life. And what you got to do is you've got to be prepared for every situation. It's like how they say you got to be able to stay ready so that way you don't have to get ready. So out here in the South where I'm at, and you've got these hurricanes and all of these other, weather calamities coming to pass. Well, when is the right time for you to be moved out of your house? After the hurricane has already come and blown everything away? Or are you making the preparations now to get yourself out of a flood zone? Are you making the preparations now to be able to move yourself to a place where hurricanes aren't as likely to happen? You see, even at the least bit, as you're getting the weather forecast that the hurricane is coming, what preparations are you making to avoid it? Because if you let the hurricane just come and hit you head on, well, it's a gamble in terms of what will happen, right? And you don't really want to gamble on the most critical things in your life. So you don't want to gamble about what's going to happen with you spiritually. You don't want to gamble about what's going to happen with your life financially. You don't want to gamble on your health. You want the things that are important in your life to be sure bets. And that's the reason why it's so important to blame yourself first, because when you blame yourself, that is when you are prepared. I was sitting down with one of my mentors, and this was a couple years ago. And, you know, this is a guy that's made millions of dollars, 8 figures of income. And he was telling me about a time that he was working one of his very first jobs, working for one of his mentors. And this mentor was really trying to give him the training and the coaching that he needed to do a great job. But he told my mentor, you know, there's only one rule that I have working for me, and that's that you're not allowed to make any mistakes. And so the reason why my mentor was being told that was not because his mentor had this grand expectation that he was just going to go through life spotless, never making any mistakes, but so that he will come to work prepared for any mistake that he might have been liable to make. He made sure that he did all the necessary precautions that were necessary to make sure that no mistake ever went down, right? And so it's just a way of doubling your preparations. And that's what, honestly, what most of us need. Most of us need to be double prepared, right? Because we kind of just go through life with these rose-colored glasses. We go through a million different distractions, whether it be social media, whether it be the television, whether it be our family, our friends. You find all of these other influences that are taking your mind away from the things that matter the most for your own personal goals and success. And because of which, when the door of opportunity reveals itself to us, oftentimes we come to that door unprepared. And when that door of opportunity comes to you in life, you have to be ready to walk through it. Otherwise, that door may never arrive again. So there comes a golden opportunity for you to have a major role, right? You're this aspiring actor and you want to be a Hollywood star. Well, when you meet the screen director that has the ability to put you in a top movie and put you in a blockbuster film, do you want to tell that movie director or that screenwriter that you've got to go and get prepared to learn how to be an actor? Or do you already want to come ready to perform as if you've already been in a million blockbusters, despite the fact that you've never been in one? See, by you having that blockbuster mindset and making the proper preparations, you're already setting yourself up to win when the door comes. But when the door comes and you are ill prepared, that's often when life is going to give us some of our biggest regrets, okay? So a second reason why it's important to always keep yourself first in terms of the blame is because keeping yourself first in terms of the blame makes sure that you're always reminding yourself that you're the one that has to be prepared. So whether there was an accident on the highway or not, rather than banking your success on what other cars will do, you're going to make sure that your game is so tight that you're going to get to the destination on time, whether other cars are doing their job or not. See, that's really the turning point to success. You bank on all these other people in the world, and I'm telling you, success is going to avoid you at every turn. And so the final point in this video is, by you blaming yourself, right? By understanding that everything is your fault, it's actually going to make you wiser. Because again, you're going to look from within to be able to solve your problems. So one of the things that they talk about in society, they talk about the definition of insanity, is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, right? So oftentimes when we are not fully aware of why things are happening the way that they are, we tend to find ourselves going back and forth into the same situation and the same problem, even though if we would have fixed ourselves within, we could have stopped the problem from happening. Right? So when life continually puts you through the exact same trial and tribulation and you keep stumbling, Well, there's only two things that you can do about that. One thing that you could do if you're unwise is to look in the external world and say, woe is me. Why does this keep happening to me? It's always this person's fault I find myself in this situation. It's always that person's fault. Maybe you're blaming your location, where you live. Maybe you're blaming, again, all of these just government, other races, all of these different things as to why things are happening in your life. And some of those things may be true. However, if you're trying to mentally train yourself for success, it's important to understand this. When you keep yourself in the center of your circle of control, that's only going to make you wiser, because as you look inward, it's going to show you how to be able to change your approach and maneuver through situations, people, environments, and circumstances. So the greatest gift that you can give to yourself, whether you knew it or not, is to blame yourself in life situations. Because as you do that, and this is not to, have one of those types of mentalities where, you're getting on yourself too hard, you're beating yourself up at every turn. That's not what this is about. It's for you to simply look for your own personal accountability and opportunities of change, and hurry up and do something about it, so that way it can make you that much better of a person. But again, if everybody else is at fault, well, then you're always going to find yourself in the same circumstances. You're going to be working the same jobs. You're going to be being around the same people. You're going to be having the same health. You're going to be having the same finances. Everything is going to be the same. The only thing is going to be different is the day, right? Because these problems will follow you wherever you go, whatever you do, because you yourself personally have not changed. Okay? So here's your assignment for today. Number one, tell me about a time where you constantly, or maybe it's an area where you constantly blame external forces, but you could see after today's video how you're not where you want to be in that particular area, because you were disempowering yourself at every turn and you didn't even know it. By you taking all of the blame and dumping it on somebody else, you realize that that was actually one of the most critical mistakes that you were making from empowering yourself to be able to move and weave out of the situation. Tell me about one key area where you tend to do that. Is it in your health? Is it in your spiritual life? Is it in your relationships? Is it in your finances? Tell me what it is. And then two, one thing that I want you to now do is I want you to tell me about how you're going to start blaming yourself in a productive way. What are you going to do when another situation arises and things don't work out exactly how you want it to? And instead of just having that impulse of wanting to look to someone outside of yourself, you start to blame from within, and you're able to deal with that in a productive, healthy way. How is that going to change your life? Okay. What are you going to do? Right? When you get that impulse, what are you going to say to yourself that's going to make you look from within? Okay. When you look within, what exercise are you going to go through? Are you going to take a moment to write something down? Maybe a lessons learned. Maybe you're going to take that lessons learned and then apply it within the next 3 days. What process and what sequence are you going to go through to stop that problem from happening to you all over again? Because to be quite honest with you guys, one of the main ways and methods that adults learn is through massive trauma, because your brain has already been developed, right? You've already matured to an age where a lot of the learnings and a lot of the mannerisms and behaviors that you have already been wired and hardwired within you. So you don't learn information the same way that a 5-month-old baby would learn something. For you, you have to learn lessons through pain. And so one of the main things that I always talk about is the power of pain. If you go through enough pain to make a change in things, that's actually a blessing in disguise. You know, every great lesson that I've ever learned in my life came through massive levels of pain, whether it was me having been homeless, whether it was me in the hospital, whether it was me, going through a failed relationship that I had really put a lot of stock in. You got to really take the time to allow yourself to be able to learn from your pains. And the only way that you will learn from your pains is if you begin to look at how you could change yourself, blame yourself from within, and then put yourself on a plan and a mission to be able to start changing course. If you don't change the course, you're going to keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. All right. So hopefully you got a lot out of today's talk. Very important lesson as always. See you on the next video. Take care.